Oh my gosh, what is good, YouTube? Oh my gosh, I haven't been on here it's been a long time. It's been a long time since we've done a video, but we're back tonight and we're back reviewing Impact Wrestling. It feels even weird saying Impact Wrestling. I still want to call it TNA. I probably will call it TNA. So if you're a huge Impact Wrestling fan and I call it TNA and that offends you, I apologize. But it's TNA to me. It will always be TNA to me. So what is up, everybody? What is up? It's good to be back. I gotta tell you, I'm just not sure how. Man, it is hot in here. So my AC is maybe working, maybe not working. I don't really know. It's either the thermostat's lying or the AC ain't working. So if I'm sweating a little bit on this camera, do not judge me. I should probably take my hat off, but I don't want to expose my bald head to everybody. So hat stays on. Sweat. I am glistening. I am. Whew, it's hot. Man, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that show. I really don't know what to say about that show. I should also warn you, if my camera's blurry, it's because my internet sucks ass. So I'm not going to be able to tell if it's blurry or not. But if it gets blurry, that's why. So I apologize if there's blurry. You're just going to have to deal with it, to be honest. You're just going to have to deal with it. There's nothing I can do, okay? I live in the middle of nowhere. The best internet I get is like 20 Mbps. I pay a fortune for it. And thus is life, okay? Once Elon blesses me with Starlink, which I hear is coming, the video will be better. I also apologize if the mic is really loud. I don't know. This is all we're testing this out, baby. We're back. It's day one, and we're back. So if I'm loud, if no one watches and I speak to myself for an hour, that's fine. We're back, baby. That show, man. Listen, I don't want to start off on a rant, okay? I don't want to start off at that level, but I think I'm going to start off at that level because I got to say this, okay? I understand inflation is a thing, all right? I get that because I go to the grocery store every week. So I understand this, okay? I buy groceries. I know that I'm paying double for the same groceries that I bought a year ago, right? The damn groceries didn't change. The price changed. So I know this is a thing. I understand this. I'm well aware of this, okay? But $40 for that pay-per-view. $40. It just feels like a lot, okay? It really does. I'm going to be honest with you, all right? I pay $9.99 a month to watch WWE's pay-per-views. $9.99. But to watch Impact's pay-per-view, I got to pay $40. And because I committed to do this live stream, my dog comes up here. Little Zachy boy. He's hot too. We're all so hot. So hot. $40. It's like robbery. And because I committed to do this stream, I had to order it. And I know everybody's going, oh, you got the choice to order it or not. You don't got to pay $40 if you don't want to watch it. Listen, Impact Wrestling, okay, is not what it used to be. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. And some people will say it's better. And you know what? The in-ring is probably better. But it's just not what it used to be. TNA at one point was the main competition for WWE. It feels ridiculous even saying that. But it's true, right? And now, what is Impact Wrestling? It ain't $40. You know what I mean? I'm not even sure if I got to look, because I'm not even sure if AEW charges $40 for their show. I can look. I got to go back and look. But I don't think they do. They might. It might even be more expensive. I might be complaining. And $40 might actually be a low price for a pay-per-view, and I'm just over here complaining. But why am I complaining? Because if I was wowed for 3 hours, if I got 3 hours of solid quality, either wrestling, you're going to give me good wrestling, okay? Or you're going to entertain me. If I had that for 30 minutes, for $40, if I had 3 hours of just solid wrestling, or 3 hours of just solid entertainment, maybe I wouldn't be complaining about spending $40. But I'm complaining because I don't think I got either. Most of the matches on this card were, I mean, I'll just say it, they were awful. They were awful. Outside of a main event that kicked ass, the main event kicked ass, okay? Now, we'll talk a little bit more about it. But the main event was solid. And you had a pretty good X Division title match. That three-way was solid. It was entertaining because it was interesting offense the entire match. I mean, you didn't have a second where there wasn't something innovative or something I haven't seen before in that match. So you got two solid matches. But the rest of the card, it was just like $40, and this is why I'm complaining about it, okay? This is why I'm complaining about it, because my problem with Impact Wrestling, and I'm going to get into a little bit of this before we get into the show. We'll get into the show. But I want to get into a little bit of this, okay? Is that, Impact rebranded itself. It used to be TNA. And TNA has a bit of a stigma. It's got a stain on it. You hear TNA and you think shit, right? That's what you think. I mean, let's just be honest, right? TNA was shitty wrestling for a long, long time. And for as long as they were TNA, they carried that like thought, you know what I mean? You watched TNA, it was shitty wrestling, and you knew you were watching shitty wrestling. But the thing about TNA is that it was entertaining. It was entertaining. I mean, yeah, was it shitty? Yeah. Was it stupid? Yeah. But you were entertained while you were watching it because it was ridiculous shit that just happened all of the time. And you were entertained by that ridiculous shit. Scott Steiner's in the ring. He's a big dumbass. He's cutting a promo. Sounds like an idiot, but it's entertaining because you're laughing at his goofy ass. They ran all these storylines. They had Russo in charge writing for them, and it was just awful. But it was awful in a way that it kept bringing you back because you wanted to see just how awful it could get. It wasn't boring. And my biggest problem with wrestling today, my biggest problem, and it's part of why I'm such a lapsed fan, is because the shit is so boring. It's just boring. Can you watch Monday Night Raw every week? Can you watch SmackDown every single week? Because if you can, you deserve a medal. Because that shit will put you to sleep. It's not even bad. It's just boring. And boring is worse than bad. If a show is boring, that's worse. If it's bad, you laugh at it with your boys, right? You laugh at that shit with your boys. If it's bad, if it's boring, you just go to sleep. And hopefully for them, you go to sleep with the TV on. Because then at least they'll get the rating. But it's so boring. And I got to say this. Most of that show was bad or boring. That's just what it was. It was bad or it was boring. Most of Monday Night Raw is bad or boring. Most of SmackDown, bad, boring. AEW's all right for the most part. But the thing AEW always falls back on is who's the next wrestler to debut, right? I mean, when you hear about AEW, the most memorable moments in AEW history are big debuts. If that's all you have, what do you really have? And I know that's a hot take, and I know that's going to get me shit on the internet, and a bunch of wrestling fans are going to want to take me out back. That's fine, because I promise you, by the end of this review, you're going to want to take me out back anyways, okay? Because I'm going to shit all over women's wrestling. I am going to shit all over women's wrestling in this show. And I know, all the soy boy wrestling fans out there, they want to pretend like women's wrestling should be held up on this pedestal because it's so awesome. But you can't honestly tell me that any of that shit we saw tonight with the women was anywhere close to awesome. It was awful. Awful. And everybody gets all touchy about the women. You don't want to shit on the women. So everybody just gives them the most leeway that you could possibly give somebody. But let's be honest, okay? Equal treatment means equal treatment, which means I'm going to judge their matches at the same level I'm going to judge a man's match, and that's what it should be, right? I should look at that Moose Josh Alexander match, and I should compare that to the women's title match that went on before it. That's equality. And if I'm going to give them equal treatment, then I'm going to say that compared to that Josh Alexander Moose match, which was pretty damn good. I mean, it's the best match on the card by far. That Tasha Steelz Rosemary match was dog shit compared to that match. What do you want me to say? They botched moves. They were off. It's just the truth. It's the truth. I'm sorry, but it is. So we're going to get into it. We're going to get into all that tonight. Again, if the camera's blurry, sorry. That's my internet. Sorry. I'm going to pull up the Wrestling Observer's coverage of this event because I just think that's a good place to go. My notes are awful. You don't want me to pull up my notes. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's get that up here. I'm going to share our screen. Man, I'm going to tell you, I know what I just said is controversial. People are going to be so upset with me. I don't care, man. I'm sorry. If you can't call a spade, what the hell? It just is what it is. And I see on all of these like wrestling shows, on all of these shows where people are covering wrestling, okay? They always prop up the women on this pedestal. And I just have to be honest, right? That's all you can do. That's all you can do. So let me see if I'm trying to share no, not that screen. We don't want to share that screen. We want to share the screen. All right. Go ahead and allow. All right. Let's get into the show. So first of all, before I get into the pre-show, which I'm going to start with the pre-show, I did watch the pre-show. It was only 30 minutes long. So I'm gonna get into the pre-show, but before I get to the pre-show, I want to talk about the crowd and the setup and just everything. Okay, so this was the event was held in Poughkeepsie, New York. Poughkeepsie, I love that name. Poughkeepsie. It's just a great town name. If you live in Poughkeepsie and I just offended you, sorry. But they were advertising the show. They were saying that the show was sold out. But one of the things I noticed, one of the first things I noticed was when the pre-show kicked off, right? They had the entire crowd blacked out. Now, I know sometimes you'll do that because it if you have a light on the ring, okay, and you black out the crowd, your focus is on the ring. So I know that's a stylistic choice, but it's also just interesting because looking at the crowd in this arena, and it could have been a tiny arena, it probably was. I mean, let's be honest. There were maybe 1,000 people in this arena. Maybe a little more, but it looked like there was no one there. Like no one's at this show, okay? And it was so much so that in the main event, and I'll get there, but in the main event, there was a woman who was just screaming hysterically as Josh Alexander came out and was standing in the ring. She was just screaming. She was going nuts. And you could hear this woman clear as day, just screaming her lungs out. Josh, it was irritating, to be honest with you. She kept saying, "Take his belt off," talking about moves. "Take his belt off." She didn't sound like that. It was like grating on the ears. You just hear this woman clear as day, and I'm thinking, man, is the crowd this quiet that I can hear this single woman, or was she just like sitting on the microphone? I don't really know, but my goodness. So the crowd looked empty. Now, one thing I didn't know about Impact is the commentary team is so the dude used to be Tom Phillips in WWE. I had to look that up. I couldn't remember the dude's name, but he was Tom Phillips in the WWE. He's Tom Hannafin here in Impact. That might be his real name. And then Aiden English, who goes by a different name now, I should know this. What a wrestling fan you are. You don't even know Aiden English's new name. No, I don't. I'll be honest. I don't watch Impact regularly, so no, I don't. They were the commentary team. They did a pretty good job throughout the show. Like, the commentary was pretty much on point. I've got no problems there. I always liked Tom Phillips in WWE. Some people didn't. I never hated him. I never disliked him. Right? Listen. He was a white bread, boring commentator for a white bread, boring product. Right? Because that's what WWE is. And he did fine. He's no worse than Michael Cole. Right? And on this show, I thought they did a pretty good job throughout the show, building the show up. So we kick off the pre-show with Eddie Edwards taking on Chris Bae. All right. And the story here is that Eddie Edwards was supposed to wrestle Jonathan Gresham on this show, but Jonathan Gresham hurt himself at AEW Battle of the Belts 2. Right? Gresham hurts himself. He can't compete tonight. So now you get Eddie Edwards versus Chris Bae. And the story behind the match was that Eddie Edwards represents a stable called Honor No More. It's kind of weird that Eddie Edwards is in this stable because the stable primarily is of like Ring of Honor people. Okay? And then you got Eddie Edwards. And Eddie Edwards I don't associate with Ring of Honor as much as I do the other guys. Chris Bae is like part of the new breed of Bullet Club. So you got this, Honor No More versus Bullet Club, which is kind of an ongoing feud that Impact's doing right now. So these two, because Gresham wasn't there, these two get put on the pre-show. This match was supposed to take place on the main show, but these guys are on the pre-show now, and then the X Division title match gets moved to the main show. All right, so I've covered all the ground here. That's setting this up. So the interesting thing here is that this match kind of sucked. This match was not very good. And I understand you put the stuff that people don't want to pay to see on the pre-show, but I also think it's very important that you got to kick your pre-show off with a banger because you want people to buy the pay-per-view, right? And if you expect people to buy the pay-per-view after watching the two matches that we got on this pre-show, you're wrong. If anything, I will say this. I think Impact Wrestling lost buys because of this pre-show. So that's embarrassing, right? But I think it's true. I really do. I think, if anything, if you were on the fence about buying this show and you're like, you know what, let's give Impact a chance. I haven't watched Impact in 5 years. I'm going to watch this pre-show. And you watch this pre-show, you turned that shit off and you started playing Call of Duty or something. You didn't watch this show. Because these two matches sucked. All right, Eddie Edwards and Chris Bae. It was just a slow match. It was a slog. It's hard to put all the blame on them because this wasn't originally the match. So it's kind of like hard to just throw all the blame on them. But I did not like this match, not one bit. Okay. It did serve to further the storyline of Bullet Club and Honor No More, I guess. I did notice that Brian Hebner was the referee, so I thought that was kind of cool. I didn't know Brian Hebner was still a referee, so that was interesting. And then the other thing I noticed was that the ring announcer sounded like David Penzer. I was like, shit, that sounds like David Penzer, the old dude from WCW. And then I realized, not until like the co-main event, that it was David Penzer. That was actually David Penzer, the old WCW ring announcer. That was David Penzer. And I am shocked that AEW on TNT and TBS did not swoop up David Penzer to do ring announcing because they're the new WCW. Why didn't they get David Penzer? They got Tony Schiavone. Why didn't they get David Penzer? I just thought that was interesting. So listening to David Penzer say the wrestlers' names was pretty cool. It was like a throwback, a nostalgia moment for me, and I like that. I like those nostalgia feels. So this match on the pre-show was about 15 minutes, and it just did not hit with me at all. Okay, so the finish was Chris Bae tried some move off the ropes. It was like I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was his finisher or what. Again, I don't really watch Impact Wrestling very often, but he tried something and Eddie Edwards caught him and put him in a Tiger Driver. And then Eddie did, I guess it's called the Die Hard Driver. It's his finisher. It was like a package, almost like pile driver type move. And that was it. That was the end of the match. Eddie Edwards wins, continues the feud between Honor No More and Bullet Club, I guess. Honestly, if I'm giving this match a star rating, I would say it was like one star. It just wasn't anything. It was kind of a waste of time. Eddie Edwards looked sluggish. It just was not an impressive match. We get a main event package afterwards, hyping up that main event. And I'm going to talk about some of the hype of the main event, because while I do think the main event, I think their goal for the main event was to make Josh Alexander a star. And I think they did that. I think they achieved that goal. But what I don't think, but I wasn't, okay, we'll talk about it in the main event. I'm going to save that conversation for the main event. But as I talk about the build-up to the main event, keep all of that in mind, okay, because we're going to touch on it. So next, by God, next we had the Knockouts World Tag Team title match, okay? You had the Influence, which is Madison Rayne and Tennille Dashwood, versus the Inspiration, Cassie Lee and Jessie McKay, the former Iconics from WWE. And what I wondered going into this match, I remember the Iconics being terrible. Like, not, I mean, they were awful performers too, but they were supposed to be. That was kind of their gimmick, was that they were grating and irritated and annoying. But I just remember in the ring, they were god awful. And so I wondered, have they gotten any better? And the answer to that question is no. They absolutely have not gotten any better. To be honest with you, this match was probably the worst match of the night. It didn't click at all. There were a lot of botches. I think at one point they botched a roll-up, which is a pretty hard thing to botch, in all honesty. But this match, they achieved that. They botched the roll-up. It was terrible from start to finish. Lots of plastic surgery in that ring, by the way. If you are a plastic surgeon, you saw a lot of your profession's work on display in this match. It's just interesting to note. A lot of former WWE talent too, which I kind of mentioned before. But listen, the Influence won. The finish came after the two women hit their finisher. This match was boring. It was a good bathroom break match, which, I mean, in your freaking pre-show where you're trying to get people hyped to buy the pay-per-view, if you have your bathroom break match there, what the shit does that say about the rest of the show, right? I mean, who's going to order your show when you give them a match that is just awful? And that's what this was. Just terrible. And again, I don't want to, because I don't want to piss everybody off, I don't want to shit all over women's wrestling. But this was by far the worst match on the card. And again, if I'm comparing that to all of the matches with the men, this match was so bad that even giving them the women's leeway that like a lot of stands will give women just because they're attractive, this match was still fucking awful. So I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, great way to get people hyped about your pay-per-view. I mean, by this point, I'm 30 minutes into the show. I've watched the pre-show. And I'm asking myself at this point, does Fight TV have a refund button? Can I get out of this? Like, I'd already set up this stream. I knew this was going to be the comeback to YouTube, was going to be this Impact Wrestling show. And I'm like asking myself in my head after watching these two matches, shit, what have I got myself into? Because again, I have not watched Impact since the last match I watched in Impact Wrestling was, I think it was Moose versus Austin Aries for the title. It may have been TNA back then. I don't remember. And I remember Aries like got pinned and then no-sold completely. It may not even have been Moose. But I do remember Austin Aries taking a finisher, getting pinned, and then getting right up and walking out, no selling anything, just not giving a shit. And I think it was the last time he was ever in the company. And that was the last TNA/Impact show that I'd ever seen until tonight. So we're kicking the main card off. Main card starts. We jump right into it. We got Jay White versus Chris Saban versus Steve Macklin. Now, Steve Macklin is the dude I didn't know in this match, right? Is not an Impact person. I did not know who Steve Macklin was. I do know Jay White, obviously, and I know Chris Saban. Chris Saban's been around for a long time. And Jay White, of course, the leader of Bullet Club New Japan Pro Wrestling. This match was pretty darn good. This was a pretty darn good opener. So everything that I said about the pre-show, you can take that away because this show gave me hope. This match gave me hope for the show. This match was good. This was a solid match. Everybody kind of got their time and their spots, right? So like you started out and Chris Saban stood tall, and then Macklin got his time to stand tall, and then Jay White. So everybody had their like moments in this match. But I'm really impressed by, and I noted this, for as long as Chris Saban has been in this business, and as long as he's been doing this, and my goodness, he's been doing it for a long time, I was really impressed with Chris Saban in this match. The way he flows, the way he moves. He's still athletic. I mean, I don't know how old Chris Saban is. I just know he's been doing it for a long time. He looked really good in this match. And Jay White, this is another thing I kind of noticed. You know, when I first started watching Jay White, I never really was into him. I never really thought he was all right, but I thought he was kind of overhyped. But watching him tonight work with these two, Jay White's a solid-ass worker, man. He can put on a good match. There was a pretty sweet spot in this match where Macklin kind of, so you had Jay in one corner and you had Chris Saban in the other corner. And Macklin kind of ran at Jay and speared him. And then he went to spear Saban, but Saban moved out of the way. So Macklin goes head first out of the ring, okay, through the ropes, just completely out of the ring to the outside. And it looked so cool seeing it in real time. It was like pretty damn impressive. So I got to give him props for that. Saban hits cradle shot on Jay White, goes for the pin. Macklin slides in, and so the finish was, you know, Saban hits White, and you think it's over. Saban's going for the pin, but Macklin kind of slides in on the sly and rolls up Chris Saban to get the 1, 2, 3. It was a pretty, I mean, you know, when you think about it, it was a little bit of a flat finish, but it was a good match. It was a solid match all along. So for opening the show, I was really impressed with this match. I'm like, dang, all right, you've redeemed yourselves from the pre-show. We're going in. This is looking pretty good. I got Ruben Rodriguez, new champion indeed. And that main event was by far the best part of the show. That main event, I mean, you'd say it stole the show, but it really didn't, because the whole build of the pay-per-view was around that match. And it was solid, man. Josh Alexander really comes off looking like a star after that match. So what more can you say, right? They did the job that they needed to do, which is build Josh Alexander to be a star. And he is. It's a solid match. Solid. After that, we get the AAA Reina de Reinas Championship. Taya Valkyrie defeated Deonna Purrazzo. And I don't know if this was a surprise to anybody. I kind of expected Taya to win. I know the whole idea of Deonna, she's this champ. They kept saying it. She's the champ. But I wasn't shocked. I mean, I kind of expected Taya to win this match. And, you know, this was the best women's match on the show, I think. Just because I'm kind of interested to talk about the Impact women's title match. In my opinion, this was the best women's match on the show. So other people might have a different opinion. There was kind of a funny spot in this match. I thought it was a little stupid. I'm sure some people liked it, but the two women were like crawling at each other and they were growling. I think they were screaming at each other, but just the way they were like crawling towards one another and scream, it was funny to me. It's just like one of those goofy things that happens in wrestling. It's just funny. I don't know. Not much to say here. It was all right. It wasn't a terrible match. It was a fine match. Taya hit the road to Valhalla to win. If I gave it a star rating, I didn't give the other one a star rating. So the Jay White Saban match, I would give that was 3 stars because that was a pretty solid opener. So I'd say that was a 3-star match. This match probably 2.5 stars. That feels right to me. Here on the Wrestling Observer, they kind of sum it up too. They didn't think it was a classic or anything. I thought it was all right. It wasn't a classic. The interesting thing about Taya Valkyrie is, when she got released from WWE, there was a lot of talk. Oh, it's saying my internet connection's bad. Rural internet, man. I'm telling you. If I'm blurry, I'm sorry. But the thing about Taya is she complained a lot when she got released by WWE and claimed that it was ageism and all this stuff. Man, I don't know about that, When I think about it, I'm just like, I'm not sure Taya Valkyrie fits in that WWE style. In all honesty, it's probably the best thing for her to be the hell out of WWE because they would have misused her. They wouldn't have done. I mean, I don't know. Would she have really been able to highlight her skill set in WWE? They would have changed. They would have ruined her. They would have changed her name. They probably would have just called her Valkyrie. I don't know, man. That was a big thing when she left, And she made these comments about how, like, whatever you think of these comments, but she made comments about how the men, they don't get treated the same way as the women, and you can be an older man and still be successful in wrestling, but if you're an older woman, you're not. I don't know about that. I don't know how I feel about that. Either way, it is what it is. We had an interview with Tasha Steelz in between those matches. And Tasha had some face paint on, and I think she was going for the lion look. Like, I think she was trying to make herself look like a lion, but she kind of just looked like a puppy dog. So I'm sitting there, and here's this woman cutting a promo. She's got puppy dog makeup on, and I'm like, why do you look like a puppy dog? Like, that's your makeup choice? You're going to get in the ring tonight with Rosemary, and you make yourself look like a puppy dog? So I don't know. I thought the makeup was a little goofy, but I will say this about Tasha Steelz, and I want to say this about her, okay? Because I noticed when she was cutting her promo. And again, I don't watch Impact, but I thought to myself as she's cutting this promo, this woman's got some talent. This woman's got some charisma and talent. She cut a pretty decent promo here. And after watching the match, which I'll get into later, I want to talk about that a little bit. But I don't want to skip ahead. So let's talk about the X Division title match. Trey Miguel versus Ace Austin versus Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey's over, dude. That was one of the first things I noticed about this match is Mike Bailey's got this karate gimmick. He wears like a gi, wrestles barefoot, right? He's got the kick pads on over his bare feet. He's got a karate gimmick. Ace Austin carries a baton. He was like twirling a baton when he came out. I don't know. I think he should ditch the baton. I think dude should ditch the baton. He's talented, but he's got to ditch that baton. And Trey Miguel, whose music, I don't know if you guys felt this way, but it sounded a lot like Ricochet's WWE music, just a little different. But I kind of noticed that. So this was a pretty good match. This was solid. All right. Innovative offense, man. That's the story of this match. I saw so many moves in this match that were like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's something I've never seen before. And it was just move after move after move after move. I mean, it was pretty incredible. You didn't really have a moment where that was boring in this match at all. It started hot and it just continued to go and go and go. And I'm going to say this. When I first saw Mike Bailey, I thought this dude looks goofy as hell. Okay, he's got his karate gi on. This dude looks goofy. There's no way this dude could be a star. But after watching that dude perform, man, that dude's got some talent. That dude has got some freaking talent, man. Really, everyone in this match did. It was just spot after spot after spot after spot. Dope match. I think if the main event wasn't so good, this would have been match of the night, in my opinion. I thought this was solid. It was fun. It didn't lose me. I was entertained from bell to bell. The winner of the match was Ace Austin. His finisher is called Fafoom. It was pretty sweet. It was a pretty sweet finisher. But again, I thought this was a fantastic match. If I'm giving star ratings, this one was a 4-star match. This was solid. Solid. And unfortunately, I cannot say the same thing about the next match. The next match was Ishii and Jonah. Ishii ended up winning. They kind of booked this match like David versus Goliath. It was kind of weird. And Ishii played the role of David, which, I mean, I don't think I'm used to seeing Ishii in that kind of role, right? But Jonah's such a big-ass dude that it sort of makes sense. But, man, I just don't know. This match, I didn't like this match at all. It looks like F4W also, this was dreadful. I kind of agreed, man. I just thought this match was way too long. It was way too slow. It was just a slog of a match. Took forever. Most of the match, Jonah kind of held the offense. But that's what I'm saying. They booked it kind of like this David versus Goliath thing. Ishii would get little bouts of offense, but it was mostly Jonah dominating. But it was just so slow. As you see here, the end, Jonah hits the Jonah bomb, a lariat, then a spear. But he missed a dive from the top rope. He went to the top rope and missed a dive. And then Ishii hit him with the basement lariat, brainbuster, boom. Wins by pinfall. And by this point, I'm just thinking, my gosh, man. My goodness, that was so slow and so long. If they would have taken some of the time that they gave that match and put that to that Impact, that X Division title match, that would have been a way better use of that time. And that's not a knock on Ishii. It's not a knock on Jonah. It's styles, man. Right? Styles. And these two, their styles just, they didn't click. So the next match was the freaking 8-man tag team match. And this thing also, to me, it was just way too long. It was way too disjointed. In the middle of all these teams coming out, you had a couple of good combinations. But when you have that many teams in a match, elimination style, you can't really get into the match. It's really hard to. So the match started. This is when I realized it was David Pinzer. So it was this match, actually, that I realized that. But the major players were the first team out. That's Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. And the first team that they faced was Jordan Grace and Wayne Morrissey. And it was what it was. It was pretty quick. They were not in there for very long. One thing I did notice was Wayne Morrissey was super wet, and I don't know why. Did he pour a bottle of water all over himself, or was he sweating that much at the beginning of the match? Because, man, dude was soaked. It was noticeable. I'm watching it, and then they cut the camera onto him, and he's just covered in water. And I'm just what the hell is that? It's kind of gross. Grace and Morrissey were eliminated, but they continued the battle outside the ring after the match. And it led to the spot where Morrissey put Chelsea Green, who accompanied Cardona and Myers to the ring. He puts her through a table, and it was actually a pretty vicious-looking table spot. It looked pretty cool. After that, the Good Brothers came out. They eliminated the major players really quick because they'd just been beaten down. Then you had Johnny Swinger and a dude named Zicky Dice. Seeing Johnny Swinger again was pretty funny because I remember Johnny Swinger back from WCW. He was a jobber in WCW. So if this is the same Johnny Swinger, it was kind of funny to see him again. It's like a name you forget, and then you're like, oh, shit, I remember Johnny Swinger. So I thought that was kind of funny. They were also eliminated really fast, just kind of made quick work of. Then you had Rich Swan and Willie Mack, and this was when the match kind of slowed down because you had quick elimination, and then Willie Mack and Rich Swan come out and are actually giving offense against the Good Brothers. So you actually have a match here in the middle, right? You have the two teams battling back and forth. Each team's getting offense. I really like Rich Swan, and I really like Willie Mack. I actually really like Willie Mack a lot. Willie Mack's a solid performer. And him and Swan are a good team together. So they ended up battling back and forth, and then they got eliminated by the Good Brothers. But again, kind of hard to get into it, even though I think if it would have just been those two versus the Good Brothers, that would have been a solid match. Like that would have been an actually entertaining match. But because you have so much going on in this 8-man elimination tag team match, it's just like you can't get into it, even if the two teams in the ring are putting on a good match. You just can't get into it because it's like, well, you just saw like 3 quick matches, and it's just kind of hard to get into. After that, Honor No More came out, right? That's Taven and Bennett. And that's the feud. You got the Bullet Club and you got Honor No More. And they actually distracted the Good Brothers by having the other 2 members of Honor No More come out and pretend like they were going to be in the match. But it was a distraction, and it ended up being Taven and Bennett, and they got the pin there. Then it was after that. So after the Good Brothers get eliminated, Taven dives out of the ring, but he ends up hitting his own people. The Good Brothers hit him with the Magic Killer, so Taven's down. Heath and Rhino come out. Obviously, Honor No More is eliminated because they just got their asses kicked by the Good Brothers. So they're gone, and then Violent by Design comes out. So you get Violent by Design versus Heath and Rhino. And again, it's just like by this point, I think we're at least 20 minutes into this match. And you're just like, can this shit be over, man? Can we get this shit over with? Because I'm ready to move on, right? I am ready to move on at this point. And we didn't. It didn't end fast. You actually got a little bit of a match with Heath and Rhino versus Violent by Design. I don't know, man. The match mercifully ended with a pile driver. BBD wins. It's really hard to give a star rating to this because it was so many matches compacted into one. But it just took so long because you had 8 teams to get there. So it just took so long from the start of this 8-team elimination match to the end of this 8-team elimination match. It just took so damn long to get from start to finish. And by the end, I was just so taken out of it. I'm like, my gosh, can we please just get this over with? I'm ready to move on to the next match. Violent by Design wins too. So maybe they should have won. But again, you're through this 8-team elimination match, and it just the champions retain the title. It's like, man, we worked this hard to get here because it did. It felt like work to get to the end of this just for the champions to retain. I don't know, man. I wasn't too happy with this one. You see the long coverage here. It was just a long ass match. It really was. All right, next up, Impact Knockouts Championship. Tasha Steelz the champion, defeated Rosemary. I don't think anyone's surprised about this result, but I want to say this about Tasha Steelz. So as she's coming out, she's doing her thing. But she has a lot of charisma. She needs polish in her ring work. But I think she could really be a star. Like, that's what came to my mind as when she cut her promo earlier in the show. And then she her ring entrance, like her coming out to the ring. I just thought, this woman could be a star. She's got charisma, right? And then Rosemary's got a really badass gimmick. She always has. I'm sorry. I like it. I like the whole goth gimmick thing. I think it's pretty cool. But this match wasn't great. Again, there was a lot of botches. It was just sloppy. The match was sloppy. You know, it was back and forth. Both women came out with like big women bodyguards. Like Rosemary had Havoc, who's just a behemoth of a woman. She's just a huge woman. And then you had I don't even know who Tasha Steelz, the person that came out with her, was. I just didn't care to remember the name. But I thought it was funny that you had these 2 women battling in the ring. Both of them have big women that come out with them. And it was just kind of funny. I don't know. It was funny. Anyways, Havoc got thrown out early. This was another thing I noticed. It's like one of those things about wrestling. So Havoc grabs Tasha Steelz. And the ref sees it, and the ref kicks her out, right? Throws her ass out. But Tasha Steelz came out with her own big woman friend. So when Havoc grabs Tasha, why didn't her friend get pissed or come over and do anything to help her? What the hell's the point of having the big friend come to the ring with you if they're not going to do anything? So at that moment, I'm just like, you're just going to let your friend get her ass kicked by this big woman? It doesn't make any sense. It's just like one of those things in wrestling that doesn't make sense. It's just silly. So, anyways, Havoc gets thrown out. The match finally ends when the aforementioned big woman that came out with Tasha, her friend, distracts the ref. Tasha goes to get the title belt to use it, okay? But the ref doesn't buy the distraction, sees her with the title belt, tells her to hey, get that belt out of here. You can't use that belt. But that actually was the distraction because her big friend comes in, big boots Rosemary, and then Tasha goes for a move, botches it, has to try it again. Couldn't get her up. And then Steels ends up winning. But it just it was just sloppy. It was just a sloppy match. If I'm giving this a star rating, I'd say 1, maybe 1 star. There were moments where the match was like, okay. But the sloppiness, it's just, I don't know, man. Your show feels a lot less serious when there's all this sloppiness on the show, okay? And not every match was sloppy, but the women's matches certainly were. That Inspiration, whatever the hell their name is, match in the pre-show was sloppy as hell. And then this Impact Women's Knockouts Championship match was sloppy as hell. And that just makes everything look less professional. And I know WWE's guilty of it too, so I can't say anything in terms of like, oh, WWE doesn't do it better. They put on sloppy matches too, but it does take a product where you've already got, you only get a few people in the audience, so your audience already looks small. Your production values aren't as strong as AEW or WWE because you're TNA, you're Impact. You don't have that kind of money to play with. And then when you put on sloppy matches on top of that, you have a real problem. Because you just look third rate. And Impact Wrestling has some talent. They shouldn't look third rate. So you just got to be careful with that, right? Book your matches in a way that highlight your wrestlers' strengths and hide their weaknesses. Right? That's what you do. And this next match did a fantastic job in terms of building a star, which is ultimately was the goal. And I talked about it earlier. Josh Alexander, we're main event time, baby. Josh Alexander taking on Moose for the Impact World Championship. Now the build-up, I want to talk about the build. Because the build to this match was Josh Alexander is doing this for his family. Moose has been giving his family shit. That's how he won the title in the first place. And Josh Alexander has to win the title for the honor of his family. Now, they built this entire show to this. So much so that I thought for sure the family was going to be involved in the finish. I thought Josh Alexander's wife was for sure going to be involved in the finish somehow. Because they built to this all show. They built to this idea that, there was a promo. There was a promo earlier in the show where his wife was giving him a pep talk. They kind of built to this whole idea that Moose has been giving the family shit. I thought for sure the wife she was not involved in the finish at all. All right. So on the one hand, this match did a fantastic. This was a great match too, by the way, a great back and forth contest. But I did think it was interesting that they didn't involve the family in the finish because they just been building up to it all show, But that being said, Josh Alexander won. Josh Alexander should have won. This was the right finish. This was a great match. I was impressed with the work all around. Moose, when I think of Moose from back in the day, Moose in his very beginning, okay, to the Moose that I saw today as someone who just doesn't watch Impact very often, I was incredibly impressed by Moose's work. Josh Alexander can go in the ring. He's solid. This dude can really be something, and Impact has a star on their hands if they book him right. And they did tonight. They really built a star. So, at the end of the day, Moose was trying to use the turnbuckles to hurt Josh Alexander. They kept talking on commentary. They were talking about a surgically repaired neck, and Moose was using exposed turnbuckle pads to try to take advantage of that. Then he tried to hit a spear. He did deliver. So I noticed on the notes here that the figure 4 said delivered one of the nastiest buckle bombs I've ever seen. That was a sick buckle bomb. I even noted it. I wrote it in my notes. That buckle bomb was sick. And it was just the way that Josh Elliott, he took it. But it was gross looking. Moose goes for a spear. Alexander cuts him off. The C4 spike, which is a really cool looking finisher, pins Moose, wins the championship. And then they go off the air with Alexander celebrating with his family. Big star making moment. So they landed, they nailed the landing here. Okay. Wow, I guess I'm live again. That was annoying. Anyways, my computer just turned itself off for no reason at all. So that was cool. It's very exciting. I don't know if it's like overheated. I guess it is kind of warm. I don't know why. It's weird. Pull the screen back up. Yep. Okay. Anyway, so we were talking about the main event and how Josh Alexander, they went off the air. They've made this star. So they nailed the landing, right? But the rest of the show, I just got to say, I said this at the beginning, for $40, I just don't know if it's worth it. I mean, in all honesty, I said it before, $40 is a lot to ask your fans for. $40. And if you're going to ask for $40, I just expect a great show. And I didn't get a great show tonight. So my return to Impact, this is my first time back. I just don't know. I'm very curious as to what others' thoughts are. So please leave your thoughts in the comments section because I'm very curious what others thought about this show. Main event was awesome. X Division title match was great. But the rest of the show, in my opinion, just fell completely flat. But they did enough, particularly with this main event, that I'm going to come back. I'm probably going to watch more Impact because they did win me over with this main event. And there's a lot of talent in Impact Wrestling. It's not barren. You have a lot of talent there. Plus Slammiversary is coming up. I don't know. Slammiversary is in Nashville. I could see myself randomly deciding to go to something like that. But Slammiversary will probably be really, really cool and exciting. So we're going to cover Slammiversary on this channel for sure. Because I really do expect them to bring back some people from the past. And I think it's going to be a really cool show. So I'm excited to cover that. I'm also excited to be back on YouTube. For those of you who are already subscribed to the channel, thank you. I'm back. We're going to be posting more content. I'm going to do more wrestling related stuff, but I gotta be frank with you. I don't know if I can watch Raw or SmackDown every week. I don't know if I can do it. It's so boring. I'll try to do it. I'll try to watch AEW every week. We'll try to watch this stuff, but Raw and SmackDown just gets so damn boring that I don't know. I can try to make it through, but I don't know. What I will do, and what I will promise you, is that as we're live today, and we're talking about Impact, I will also promise you that we will go live after pay-per-views. So we will do that because I think there's value there, and I've always enjoyed watching the pay-per-views or special events or whatever the hell you call them now. I do enjoy watching them. So I think we'll always have coverage for those events. We'll try to do live shows after every single big event. And then we'll do some weekly shows, but again, watching Raw and SmackDown, the thought of it just makes me want to throw up in my mouth. So I don't know if I can promise that, but we will do that. We're also going to be doing a podcast about the Mandela effect. So if you like that kind of weird shit, we're going to have that every Monday. First episode of that should drop on this Monday. Then we're going to do some other things. So we'll get into some stuff. But I'm just, I was really not too impressed with this Impact show, but it was fun to watch TNA Impact again because I just haven't been there for so long. So I'm going to cut this because I don't trust my computer to continue running, and I know my internet's bad. This was sort of a test stream to get us back up. But please like, share, subscribe if you like the content. If you want to see more wrestling content, if you want to see more content in general, go ahead and subscribe, turn notifications on, do all that good stuff that helps the algorithm and keeps the channel going. But as for tonight, thank you guys for watching and joining. I'll see you guys next time.